Hey everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. Today we are going to be making pocket pages using the leftovers from last week's kit. Last week we did these 6 pages here using the My Favorite Fall collection from Echo Park. And today we're going to use the leftovers that we had left after we did this collection. And we're going to make pocket pages using some Project Life page protectors and the leftovers from this kit. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. Okay, so we're going to unpack the leftovers from last week. So as you saw at the end of my last week's video, I just packaged everything up. So I have my 3x4 journaling cards, my 4x4 journaling cards, my 4x6 journaling cards, all of our leftover cardstock, all of our leftover stickers, our decorative brads, and our leftover chipboard as well. And I'm just going to spread this out again on the table, see what we have to work with. And it might be beneficial to add maybe some white cardstock or a black cardstock just for layering if you want to. Sometimes I try to improvise with matting by just using the backside of journaling cards that I don't want to use. Okay, so once we're set up, then we need to pick our actual pages that we're going to be putting our journaling cards in. So typically pocket pages for me, I feel like you have to do them in order because you use the backside of the previous layout in your album to determine the first layout, the first page in your layout. So you kind of have to make it work with what's already been progressing in your album. So what I do is I use a 12x12 like accordion style folder, expandable folder here to organize all of my pocket pages. So I like to have a variety of them. So I have them numbered like 1 through I think it's 6, and then there's like design A and B, D. I even have some 12x12 Project Life page protectors. So typically you have to go in order because the backside of your previous layout, like I mentioned before, it kind of determines the layout of your first page here. So for an example, if this was my previous page, I would have to use the backside of this design. I'm sort of breaking my own rule and I'm going out of order and I'm doing a fall layout here because we did our fall layout, our fall kit last week. So I just kind of wanted to do it consecutively so that it's fresh in our mind and it makes more sense. But typically I would not be going out of order like this. I'm just going to have to remember when I'm doing my album that I did go out of order for this, and I'll have to coordinate it with the layouts before and after this event now. Okay, so what I do is I typically do my family album on a yearly basis. So like I start January 1st and I end December 31st, and I roughly give myself about 8 pages to do per month. So because I'm using the leftovers from different kits that I do, and because I'm so far behind in my scrapbooking, what I did is I dedicated an entire year. So I did dedicated 2012. So my family album for 2012 is dedicated just to these pocket pages. And that just allows me to use up the leftovers like I'm doing here today with other kits that I'm working on. Even though I'm working on like layouts from 2014, 2016, different things like that, I'm still using these leftovers back in 2012. So I dedicated an entire year just to using up these scraps, and I'm in no rush to get it done. I'm just letting it happen as it happens. And it was just easier for me to do this and dedicate an entire year to pocket pages rather than mix in pocket pages in with my normal albums. So here I'm just going to show you how I organize my thoughts in my, and I'm going to do a rare thing and show you guys some of these pictures, but they're really small, so my kids should be fine with them. What I do is when I go on my computer, I organize, so I go into iPhoto because I have a Mac computer, and I pick all of my pictures for, in this example, September 2012. I eliminate all the pictures I don't want, and I save all of the pictures I do want into an album called September 2012. And then what I do is I print off a contact sheet, which looks like this, of all of the pictures that I want to scrapbook. Okay, so then I print it off, and then I take markers of different colors and I highlight around a theme. So each of those themes is going to be a set of scrapbook pages or a layout. So in this case, I have a back to school layout, I have a parade layout, I have a rodeo layout, and then I have a randoms layout. So in this case, I don't have very many September pictures, so I'm combining my random pictures from September and October. Okay, and that's the page we're going to do today. I'm still not going to put pictures onto my page, but I'm just showing you how I pick the pictures that I would want to put on my page. So I'm going to combine the randoms from September and October, and here I'm just showing you the different themes that I have for my October pages. So I got a costume party, pumpkin carving, boys fall camp hunting trip, and then I have a day at grandma's house. And I organize them all sort of by highlighting around them. Okay, and what I'll do also on this page is I'll go with a Sharpie and I'll exit out of pictures that I decide I don't want. And from this contact sheet, I can kind of look at it and be like, okay, that's a horizontal 4x6, or this would be a vertical 4x6 picture. So you can decide the orientation of your pictures just by looking at this contact sheet. So a lot of times I will actually print out my pictures after I've decided what I'm using on this contact sheet. Okay, so this is just simply how I'm showing you how I pick on all of my tutorial videos. This is really sort of the thought process that goes behind how I put these photo mats on my pages. Okay, so I'm doing this as a random fall layouts page, and it's including September and October. We're gonna have a sort of pictures on these pages that have different things going on, and so what I did is I seen this idea on Pinterest for a journaling card that I think worked really, really well for random, just like a random pictures kind of a layout. So I'll show you quickly how I did my journaling box. So I printed it out at home on my printer using like white scrapbooking cardstock. I went into Pages because I have a Mac computer, but you could really use any word processor. I took a shape and I made a 3x4 and a 4x4 journaling box. And I didn't end up using the 4x4 journaling box because I decided that I wanted a 3x4 journaling box instead. Okay, so I just created that shape, put a border on it so that I could just visualize the shape of my 3x4 journaling area. Okay, and then instead of saying September random memories or September moments, because I combined September and October random pictures, I just decided to call it autumn or fall memories. Okay, so it's kind of a more generic title. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate the date of my pictures into another text box below this that's going to kind of explain the pictures. Okay, so sorry if you are using a phone or a smaller device, it might be harder to read. I'm a really big believer in buying fonts and putting them on your computer. I think you can get, it's a great way to support some really creative people. And also, you can do more modern things in a word processor if you have the right fonts to do it. And you can be inspired on Pinterest with different fonts, things like that. I think the one, I'll put a link below to not a link, but I will definitely put in the description the fonts that I did use on my journaling card here. Okay, so I've seen this on Pinterest. Someone had did something similar to this, where they just sort of put, they put a number for the date. So for me, because I'm using September and October, I'm going to use 9.16 would mean September 16th. But if you're just doing let's say September only, you could just put the date. So you could just put 16. You don't have to put 9/16. And then I think I like the look of not capitalizing anything and having the numbers be a little bit more bold. So I really, really wish I would have maybe zoomed in for you guys so it would have been easier to see. But what I did is I just put the number for the date, put a straight up line. So just put a straight line. And then I put text for what that for what that picture means. So September 16th, Chloe, which is the name of my daughter, brought in the pumpkin harvest with the quad and wagon. And I try to keep it really short, sort of one-liners if you can. For October 11th, which I labeled 10.11 with a line, I said moose on the loose, and then because it was a picture of a moose really close to the yard. And then I just sort of put everything in a kind of a rough draft kind of a way. And then if I needed more to fill up more of that journaling card, then I went in after and I just added a few more sentences or a little bit more details. Okay. And then at the bottom here, I go ahead and I wanted to tie in the font that says memories, and I wanted to incorporate it in another spot on the journaling card. So I went ahead and wrote 2012 with a dash, so that it's just a fun way to show that it's 2012, which I mean we already know because it's a 2012 album, but it was just a nice little detail to add, and I feel like it really tied the design together really well. So I went ahead and eliminated that 4x4 journaling box because we're not going to use it, and I created a new shape that we're going to layer on top. And we're going to make this, we're just going to add, I just wanted to do this to add another border. So we're going to make it, we're going to put it behind our text, and then I'm just going to put a border on there so that when I print it out and I cut it out, it just has a little bit more to it than it did before. And here I just feel like the font, or the text, is too close to that inside border. So I just made my text box a little bit smaller or narrower so that the text wasn't so close to that inside line. Okay, and we're ready to go ahead and print this out and cut it out and use it in our layout. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start assembling our page. So we're just going to kind of play around with where we want to put our photos, and then we're going to see kind of what's left with what areas are left and what journaling cards we want to use. What's really nice about the 4x4 size is that when it comes to something like these pocket pages, the 4x4 photo area can be trimmed down from a vertical picture or a horizontal picture. And you're only really taking 2 inches off of a photo. And a lot of times we can easily do that. And so the 4x4 is a very versatile size with pocket pages. Here, the back side of those 4x6 journaling cards is actually this nice orange color, and the leaves are going to be sideways on the horizontal the vertical pictures, but that doesn't bother me too much. They're kind of just in the background anyways. And then here I'm using actually this chalkboard background journaling card just to create some mats for our other journaling cards. So I originally had placed this beside our journaling card that says Fall Memories, but I decided I wanted to move it down there and switch it out with the one that says Hello Fall. Okay, so you'll see I swapped these out. So it didn't matter to me that black mat was bigger than the 3x4 size. Okay, so here I'm just trimming down my pictures where I want to put them on a mat. And then, because that's the thing, I guess, with pocket pages too, right, is that if you are going to mat things, you do have to trim them down. You can't just add a mat and it'll fit. I also really, really like using the 3x5 photo size because you can create sort of a cluster area onto a 4x6 journaling pocket. So 3x5 and 3x5 you could easily trim down a 4x6 and not lose too much of the photo itself. Okay, so now that the bases of our pages are finished, we can start just playing around with embellishments. I like to just, if it's not a sticker, I just kind of like to place it on top and just see what it looks like before I start like pulling all of my stuff out to create clusters. I do think I find it easier to put everything inside the pockets. Otherwise they slide around because the page protector is so slippery. So I'll put it there, kind of loose lay things on top, and then once I'm ready and committed and like something, I'll pull it out and assemble it, sort of like I am here. And kind of created a little cluster at the bottom of this 3x4 journaling card. The back, that orange, like I mentioned before, is actually the back side of a 4x6 journaling card. So it worked out kind of nice. And things do get tighter in the pockets when you start adding foam squares and foam tape or adding chipboard. It doesn't bother me all that much. I'd rather have that texture and height on the pages anyways. But if it does bother you and you don't want to use pop-ups, I would incorporate more layers using paper or cardstock. Sorry for my voice. I caught a cold this week, so I've been struggling with a head cold and being sniffly. But if you are a card maker, I think pocket pages is actually something you'll really excel at, because I feel like you're working with a card-sized area at a time. So if you're like a card maker and you can make wicked cards, and the concept and that working in that small area at a time sort of really works for you, I think you'll really love this, and I think you'll be really good at it. And it's almost less overwhelming when you only think about like that small area at one time. Okay, I've seen some really elaborate pocket pages, and I think they're stunning and amazing. And I never have those kind of expectations for my pages when I'm working on things like this, because I try to remind myself, you already made 6 pages with this kit. So you've used up a lot of embellishments, some of the nicer embellishments perhaps, or some of the bigger, bolder elements. You've already used those on 6 awesome pages. So the fact that you can make a couple more pages and they can turn out looking like this using scraps, it's pretty awesome. So sometimes I just have to remind myself of that with my expectations for these pages, and things like that. So I mean, it's kind of just like a bonus if you can do extra pages like this, and if you end up with a lot of the journaling cards left in a kit. So when I do a kit, I always in the back of my mind think, you know what, if I can end up with the journaling cards at the end that are left and not use the back side of them, then that's awesome, because then I have opportunities like this once the kit is over. But sometimes the back side of the journaling cards is just, I really like it and I want to use it on my traditional cutting guides, and it's just, it is what it is. If I really wanted to make journaling pocket pages with that, I could always go out and buy the actual individual sheet that I missed out on. But some of the kits I also don't have a lot of embellishments left over. So it just depends. I don't do this with every kit. And but sometimes there's a lot left and there's a lot of journaling cards left, so why not take this opportunity? Thank you guys so much for watching this week. I hope you guys learned something, and I challenge you guys to use journaling cards in this way as well, even if it is in your regular albums. And we will see you next Friday with a new tutorial. Thank you so much for watching.